Hi, I'm Laura Nelkin. I'm a knitwear designer. I live in upstate New York in the Finger Lakes region, and this is a quick tutorial teaching you how to add pockets to my Novus jackets. The Novus Construction is a side-to-side sweater construction that is seamless but structured. If you haven't heard of it before or you want a refresher, I do have a video that goes over how to work the Novus Construction with Stitch Saver, and I will link to that below. This video assumes that you have one of my Novus jacket patterns and that you have finished the sweater and you want to add a pocket to it. So it's kind of like an add-on afterthought little fun thing that I decided to do to my Novus jacket, and I thought that you might want to do it to your Novus jacket too. Because let's face it, everybody loves a pocket. Pockets are the best. I am wearing Novus DK Jacket, and when I first finished it, I found that I kept kind of wanting to put my hand somewhere. And so I added a pocket in on the left-hand side, and I learned a few things that make adding a pocket to the Novus Construction really easy, but also just a few details that'll make it sit really beautifully and not get like baggy or saggy over time, which can happen sometimes with an afterthought pocket. There are a few things to consider because this is a side-to-side construction, so it doesn't really, I'm not sure you can take a afterthought pocket technique that another designer uses and easily apply it to the Novus Construction, which is why I wanted to show you how I do it. So without further ado, let's just kind of jump right in and I'll show you the few things that I think you need to know to have success. The first thing is you have a decision or two to make. So to do this tutorial, I knit this super cute, tiny little Novus jacket, and I'm going to show you how to add a pocket to this jacket. The first decision that you need to make is whether you want to have a pocket on the right side, right here, or on the left side, right here, or pockets on both sides. That's completely up to you. On mine, I decided to put a pocket on the left side, and so I'm going to show you right now how to put that pocket right there, but you could certainly put one over here as well. The next decision that you need to make about your pocket is if you want your pocket to go all the way from the edge of the side panel right here to the collar line, or like going straight across right there, or if you want your pocket to be centered in between the front panel. That might depend a bit on the size of the Novus jacket that you're making. In the smaller sizes, I think it makes sense to go all the way across. In the larger sizes, you might find that your pocket is just too wide. One thing you could do if you want to go all the way across in the bigger sizes is kind of sew up the center of your pocket so you have two different sections, like maybe one for your phone and one for your tissues or something like that, or your knitting needles or your ball of yarn. I mean, maybe you want a big pocket for your knitting to sit right there. Who am I to judge? I'm always happy to have my knitting right on my body. So those are the two decisions you're going to make. And once you've made that decision, the next thing to do is learn how to pick up stitches so that you're ready to work the pocket. So let's go ahead and look at that next. Okay, I'm going to pick up stitches and I'm not going to knit them. And so the easiest way I find to do this is with a smaller needle. One thing to remember with the Novus Construction is that it's a side-to-side construction. So this is your row gauge right here, and your stitch gauge is going this way. So we're going to want to pick up 3 stitches into every 4 rows going across this bottom edge. And I am going to be, pretending right here as I do the sample that I am making a pocket that goes from the side panel all the way to the collar. So I'm going to start picking up 3 stitches in 4 rows by coming to this row of stitches that's just above the garter edge. And then I'm going to go into those stitches and I'm going to pick up 3. And sorry, that's a row right there. So if I kind of turn this to the side, you'll see that I'm picking up the left leg of that stitch. and then I am going to skip one stitch, and then I am going to pick up 3 more stitches. And then I'm going to skip one, let's call it a row if we're going to be really specific. And then I'm going to pick up 3 stitches, and then I'm going to skip one row, and then I'm going to pick up 3 stitches, and then I'm going to skip one row, and then I am going to pick up 3 stitches right until I get to that edge right there. And then that has me all set up to get ready to work the setup rows for the pocket. So let's go ahead and do that next. Okay, after I've picked up those stitches, I'm going to go ahead and knit across them. And I like to knit through the back loop as I knit across them, just to tighten them up a little bit. It makes for a really tidy bottom edge of the pocket. And what you're going to do is knit all the way across these stitches until you get to the last stitch. And now I am at the last stitch right there. So I am going to slip that stitch purlwise. And then I'm just going to use this little small needle that I have in my right hand. And I want to make sure you can see where I'm picking up. I'm picking up right in that garter bump right there, in that purl bump. It's actually the garter bump of the collar. And then I am going to go ahead and knit into that stitch. And then I am going to pass that slipped stitch over. And what I've done right there is joined those bottom stitches to this side garter ridge right here going up the collar. And now I am going to turn my work to the wrong side of my row. I'm going to slip that first stitch knitwise with my yarn in front. And then I'm going to bring my yarn to the back, and I am going to knit to the last stitch. Now, one thing that I didn't say as I started is I made my pockets on the Novus Jacket garter stitch, so I am going to be knitting every row. And now I'm going to bring my yarn to the front. I'm going to slip that last stitch to the right hand needle purlwise. And then I am going to pick up one stitch along the edge of the side panel, that side panel join. And then I am going to purl one and then pass that slipped stitch over, just like that. And you'll want to be careful not to split your yarn while you're doing this. When you go to do that, you're probably going to want to pull the tail to tidy things up, just because it's going to be a little bit loose right there at that first join. Now, what you have done is joined the pocket to the collar and that side panel join right there, just like you worked the side panels and the back panel on your Novus jacket. So at the beginning of this video, remember I said that you'd be doing this after you had knit your whole Novus jacket. So this should be very familiar to you, this join. It's the exact same join that you already did. Now what you're going to do is continue these 2 rows where you slip the first stitch purlwise with the yarn and back, and then knit to the last stitch. So we'll just go ahead and do 2 more rows together so you see it. And now you're going to slip one through the back loop purlwise, and then you are going to pick up a stitch along the edge right there, and that should be that little garter bump, and you're going to knit that stitch, and then you're going to pass your slip stitch over. And that is a right side row. Super easy, just like you did on the panels. And now you're going to turn your work and do the same thing that you did for wrong side rows on your panels, where you slip that first stitch and then you knit across to the last stitch, and then you slip that last stitch, and you pick up one stitch and purl it and then pass the slip stitch over. And you're going to continue working those 2 rows until your pocket is, I would say, maybe like 3/4 of an inch from the height that you want it to be. And then what I did, and I'm just going to finish this right here because I'm chatting away with you while I am knitting. I am going to pick up that stitch and purl it and pass that slip stitch over. And now let's get to the front of the work so I can show you what you're going to do. You can see that pocket just starting to build its way. I tuck that in so it's not distracting us. Build its way up. Let's say I want my pocket to stop about right here. I'm going to stop about 3/4 of an inch before. And what I found with pockets is as pockets come up the body and they get taller, they start to kind of bag out and sag a little bit. So what I did on the last few rows was knit to 3 stitches before the middle or the center stitch. And then I worked a slip, slip, knit, and then a knit 1, and then a knit 2 together. And what that did is decrease the stitches in just a little bit at the top of the pocket, and then work to the end of the row as you worked it before, and then work a wrong side row just like you've been working it, work a right side row and wrong side row plain, and then work one more right side row where you do a decrease in the center again. And I'll write that decrease row below just so you can see it. I have it written up. And what that'll do is end up decreasing 4 stitches total from what you've picked up for your pocket, and it'll just make the pocket be so nice and tidy at the top, because over time what's going to happen with your hand going into the pocket is it's going to kind of stretch it out a little bit, and you really want it to stay into your body. I already said we don't want a baggy pocket, right? And then when you are done doing that right side decrease row, on the wrong side row, bind off going all the way across with an Icelandic bind off. That's my favorite bind off for garter stitch. You used it on the collar of your jacket. I'll give you the link to that below as well. And then you are done with your pocket. If you want to work one on the other side, make sure you pick up the same number of stitches and work the same number of rows. It's really easy with the pockets, I think, to count those garter stitch rows. So the next thing I want to show you is just the difference if you're going to work a pocket that doesn't go all the way from edge to edge, because that is just a little bit different than what I showed you here. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, let's say that you want a smaller pocket, that you don't want a pocket going from edge to edge. The first thing that you want to do is make sure that you are centering it on the bottom of the half, and you'll choose if you want to have a pocket on the right side or the left side. And let's say I want to have a pocket that is 5 rows in from each side. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm going to put a stitch marker right there into that 5th stitch to make sure that I'm centered. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to put a pocket right there. And then I'm absolutely sure that I am centered. And now I'm going to do the same thing with a smaller needle where I pick up 3 stitches in every 4 rows going across. So now the technique is basically almost the same. You are just not working all the way across. So I'm going to go 3, and then I'm going to skip 1 row, and then this is going to be a very small pocket. So I'm going to go 3, and I'm going to skip 1 row, and I'm going to go 1 more. So I'm ending up with a tiny little TT pocket right there. And now the next thing you're going to want to do is make sure when you go to work to do the join that you are in line with that last stitch that you picked up. So what I'm going to do is go and grab a second double pointed needle, and the line that you're going to be joining to is 1 stitch over from that stitch that you picked up. So it's going to be this row right here. And I'm going to go up to where I think that I want my pocket to end. And I am going to pick up 1 stitch in each leg of that row all the way down, picking up those stitches. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Let's make sure I can see this going up this row. So not the row that I picked up the stitch in, but the next row up, which I believe is this row. And then I'm going to try to make sure that I get it into the same row right there. And you can see I'm picking up the upper leg of the stitch going down that row. And then I have got that right there going down. And now the technique is exactly the same, where I'm going to work across these stitches to the last stitch, slip that stitch, work one stitch from this needle, pass that slip stitch over, turn my work back in the opposite direction to the last stitch, slip that stitch, purl that stitch, pass that slip stitch over. So the knitting is exactly the same as what you did going all the way to the end. This just helps you make sure that you are centered on your jacket when you go to work that pocket. One thing I didn't say that I do think is important is it might help you to block before you go to do the pocket. You can see that my stitches are really nice and tidy on this, so I kind of steamed this and blocked it and got it ready for working the pocket. So please do let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to help you. I'm happy to write up bits if there's something about this that isn't clear. If you follow how you work the side panels in your pattern, that is the same technique for joining the pocket. I'm very excited to see all of your Novus jackets come to life. It's such a great pattern, very wearable for this time of year. Happy knitting.